Security Plus makes for a great foundational cybersecurity certification for two reasons, really. First, it's perhaps the most requested security certification out there, which means that even if it doesn't land you the job, it will get your CV past those automated scanners and into the right pile for human review. Second, it's going to help you build a broad base of vendor-agnostic cybersecurity knowledge, which will serve you well regardless of the technology stack you're working on with your future employers. And this video marks the beginning of the 2024 edition of my Security Plus Exam Cram series. It will help you get further faster in your pursuit of the latest edition of the Security Plus certification. And the series will cover every skill measured in the exam syllabus. We're going to go through every line item. And in this installment, I'm going to lay out the flow of the series and give you an exam preparation strategy that has worked for thousands around the world. The original series racked up more than 1 million views, and I promise you the sequel is going to be even better. So let's get started. Welcome to the 2024 edition of the Security Plus Exam Cram series, focused on the latest version of the Security Plus exam, the SY0-701. And in this important introductory video, I'll lay out the flow of the series, tell you what to expect. I'll give you an exam preparation strategy that has worked for thousands around the world, along with recommended exam preparation materials. I expect there are a few items in this session you may want to reference later, so I'll include a PDF copy of the presentation available for download in the video description. All the topics in this video should appear on the video timeline automatically, but just in case, I have a clickable table of contents in the video description, so you can move between topics as you need to. And just a quick word about who I am. Most importantly, I'm not simply a cybersecurity educator. I exercise these skills every day as a cybersecurity strategist in regulated industries and a VCSO for a regional bank. And I am confident the skills you learn in preparing for the Security Plus exam will serve you well every day of your cybersecurity career, just as they have mine. More importantly, last year I helped thousands achieve cybersecurity certifications like the CISSP, the CCSP, and the Security Plus. If you look around here at Inside Cloud and Security on YouTube, you will see that cybersecurity certification education is what I do. And here's how this Exam Cram series is going to flow. So that we'll cover all 5 domains of the Security Plus SY0-701 exam. It will cover every line item mentioned in the official exam syllabus, and the full Security Plus Exam Cram series should be complete in the second quarter of 2024. I am launching this series in early April. I expect we'll be all wrapped up before the end of May. And while I'm going to give you a very complete resource for exam preparation, I'm going to give it to you in bite-sized chunks. So I will create videos for each subdomain within the exam. So 4 videos for domain 1, 5 videos for domain 2, 4 more for domain 3, 9 for domain 4, which is quite a large domain for the Security Plus this go around, and 6 more to wrap up domain 5. So your time commitment week to week is going to be very reasonable, but it's designed for use with my proven exam prep strategy. I definitely recommend you watch that later in this video. You won't be the first to benefit from it, but you may be the next. It delivers everything you need for the exam without the fluff. I try to be very focused on relevant exam topics. So there is absolutely no fluff. And all without the need for an expensive boot camp. The only required equipment, in my opinion, is the official study guide and the practice test manual that goes alongside that study guide. I'll point you to exactly what you need there in just a moment. And the 5 domains of the Security Plus exam are general security concepts, Domain 2, threats, vulnerabilities, and mitigations, Domain 3, Security Architecture. Domain 4, Security Operations. And Domain 5, Security Program Management and Oversight. So let's talk about the exam itself. So for the 2023 version of the exam, we have a maximum of 90 questions. There are a combination of multiple choice with a few performance-based questions in there. Performance-based questions require a candidate to perform a task or solve a problem with a simulated IT environment to demonstrate specific knowledge or skills. This could be drop-down boxes on a diagram. This could be drag and drop or hotspot type questions. But the exam is vendor agnostic, so it's going to be testing your knowledge of cybersecurity concepts and technologies in general. And I'll try to offer a bit of guidance on performance-based questions along the way in the series. And continuing on, the length of the exam is 90 minutes. And the recommended experience is at least 2 years of work experience in IT sysadmin with a focus on security. They're assuming you do have some hands-on technical information security experience and broad knowledge of security concepts. So when you hear folks say that Security Plus is an entry-level exam, it's not 100% entry-level. There is some expectation of a bit of hands-on knowledge. And the passing score is 750 on a scale of 1 to 900, so we're talking about 1 minute per question, roughly 83% to pass, give or take. So let's unpack what type of knowledge they expect you have going into this exam. So they assume you're able to assess the security posture of an enterprise environment and recommend and implement appropriate security solutions. Monitor and secure hybrid environments, including cloud, mobile, and IoT. Operate with an awareness of applicable laws and policies, including principles of governance, risk, and compliance. And identify, analyze, and respond to security events and incidents. So what we see here really maps to the exam syllabus. I see a lot of security operations in here, which is the very large Domain 4. We see some GRC in here, which is Domain 5. And a bit of architecture, Domain 3, in that first line item. So they say across these, this is equivalent to 2 years of hands-on experience working in a security or systems administrator job role. So could you spin up a small lab environment, maybe get a cloud trial subscription, and simulate some of this experience in the process of preparing for this exam? Of course you could. Bottom line, we all start in a different place, so prepare for the Security Plus at a pace that's right for you. I would say most folks are ready for this exam in less than 90 days. And as we walk through the exam prep strategy, I'll show you how to measure your readiness to schedule that exam. When you look at the official exam syllabus, you'll also see a long list of acronyms you're expected to be familiar with. In fact, if I just switch over and look at the syllabus document, what you'll find are a little over 300, basically 4 pages of acronyms. Many of these we're going to cover in the course of this series. Many of these are foundational concepts. The reality is, in an exam of 90 questions, you're going to see most of these acronyms one time at most, and some maybe not at all. But I'll definitely call out the important acronyms as we're preparing for the exam, working our way through the domains in the series. And I'll leave a link to this syllabus that includes the acronyms in the video description. So let's talk about required study resources. So I try to keep this system bare bones when it comes to exam prep strategy, but required resources include the official study guide from Cybex, which is more than just a book. It includes 500 practice questions, 100 flashcards, 2 practice exams. So it gives us, number one, a place to do some targeted reading. And number 2, it gives us a place to go take some practice quizzes as a checkpoint of our onboarding of the knowledge. Something I want you to remember with crystal clarity, there is no practice exam you can go by that simulates the real exam all that precisely. So you should use practice quizzes to ensure you have command of the knowledge, of the technologies that are going to be on the exam. So the official study guide is one way to do that. The other companion to this is the practice test for Security Plus And there are 1,000 practice questions and 2 practice exams in this book. And you really want to make sure you buy the electronic copy of these 2 books, the reason being it is then searchable. My exam prep strategy involves using multiple methodologies, multiple learning techniques, multiple resources. It does not involve sitting down and reading either of these books cover to cover. Not the most effective use of your time. So to get the electronic copy of these 2, you need to buy them individually. They don't have a bundle for the ebooks. They only have a bundle for the paperback. If that changes, I'll let you know, but if you just check the links in the video description, I'll ensure that always points to the latest and least expensive option for you. And to further reduce the cost of this resource, look inside the book and you will find a 10% off discount for scheduling your exam. That's going to save you $35, give or take, which is a little more than half of what you'll spend on that pair of books. So I mentioned the practice quizzes that come in these books, which are actually available online, are one of the keys to preparing for the exam in a time-efficient way. They can save you weeks of study time if you use them right. So we're going to switch over to a browser, and here I'm logged into Wiley's Efficient Learning Platform, where I have registered my books for the online resources. So here you see I have the Security Plus Study Guide 500 practice questions. Now what you'll notice about the study guide, they give you a short little assessment you can take at the beginning, but the quizzes are largely broken out by chapters, which means it's tackling subjects, not specific domains, because your domain subject matter is spread across these chapters. So you have some ability to get into some specific topics, but your ability to drill down on a specific domain is somewhat limited. And they give you a couple of practice exams at the end, and they're 90 questions each, just like the real thing. And these are generally going to be all multiple choice. You're not going to see performance-based questions in here. Now, I want to just juxtapose or compare this to the practice questions that come in the practice test book. So here I've registered for those online resources. And what you'll notice that when I look at the chapters here, each chapter maps to a domain. And there are a bunch of questions for each of these. There's 1,000 questions, a little more in this book. So if I need to assess my knowledge of domain 1, I can deselect all the chapters and pick just chapter 1, which maps to domain 1. And if I scroll down, you'll notice here I can pick a specific number of questions, and it'll tell me how long it thinks it will take me to get through that. So if I only have 20 minutes to study, I come grab 10 questions. If I have an hour, I grab 30. But by having that practice test book, I get not only more questions, but the ability to carve out my study time focused on a specific domain. And this becomes important when we talk about our exam preparation strategy, which we're going to do right now. And if you've studied with my materials before, you've heard this. If not, you may be hearing it for the first time, but there is no award for the longest study time. I'm going to share an exam prep strategy backed by science and proven through the results of thousands. The first technique I'm going to share with you is repetition, spaced repetition in particular, because there is power in repeating our study of specific topics over repeated intervals. And those intervals will tell us if we're focused on memorizing for the short term, memorizing quickly, through repetitions that happen a few minutes to a few hours apart, or if we're looking for long-term retention, in which case we'll continue that memorization, but we'll also come back to that material after a day, after a couple of weeks, after months even in some cases. But for short-term retention, by the time I hit the 3rd, 4th, 5th repetition, my retention is pretty high, at least for a few weeks. And in the long term, if I come back every couple of weeks, 2 or 3 months, I'm locking information in that may stay with me for months, years, or for my life. And what's happening here really in spaced repetition is your first session is going to stick with you for a bit, but you're going to forget some of that material over time. We call that the forgetting curve. You go back and study a second time, your forgetting curve gets a little longer and a little shallower each time. Each time you remember a little more for a little longer. That's spaced repetition. And that's absolutely part of the strategy. Another technique I use frequently and strongly recommend is called chunking. That's where we take a topic and we break it down. So let's take cryptography, for example. There's asymmetric cryptography, asymmetric encryption algorithms, symmetric algorithms. We may need to look at hashing as well. And there are block ciphers. There are stream ciphers. I'm breaking the topic into chunks based on a unique property. I'm breaking the topic into bite-sized pieces. Eating the elephant one bite at a time, as they say. One more concept before we talk about how we bring all the materials and techniques together in a strategy, and that's around understanding concepts. Studies show that understanding the material before you memorize greatly improves retention. We don't want to focus on memorizing answers, just memorizing words. We need to understand the concept so we can describe it back in our own words. So let's bring all these materials and concepts together in a strategy. And let me just say, the idea that we're all primarily either an auditory learner, a visual learner, or a tactile learner, as they told us in primary school, is a lie. The science shows that everyone benefits from multiple learning materials and methods. So we'll talk through the options, and you're going to work with these and then combine them in a way that feels right to you. We'll look at targeted reading, practice exams, live quizzes, PowerPoint review, video content, multiple modalities, spaced repetition, chunking, and the Pareto principle, the 80-20 rule, as it's often called. But this is really about what to use as well as how to use them. They're equally important here. So let's start with video content. Video will give you a broad sense of exam content and help you understand what you already know. And I expect for many people it will make up the majority of your study time. In fact, video content is my preferred starting point. I lean very heavily on video. PowerPoint review is great. Getting a PDF copy allows you to just review quietly off in the corner. You can pause and linger where you need to. It makes setting the pace very easy, and we can use that PDF as part of live quiz. This is an effective substitute for flashcards if you have a partner to help you, because a live partner can change up the questions, which is very helpful. I remember studying for the CISSP exam, which I did in about 12 hours over the course of a couple of weeks, and I did some live quiz sessions with my wife who would ask the question one way and then change it up to see if I really knew the topic well. But if you don't have a partner, flashcards are a great way to go solo with this. You get about 100 flashcards with the official study guide. They're fairly simple cards. But today you do have options for flashcards. In fact, I'll be releasing a flashcard set to my own flashcard app for the Security Plus exam. I already have flashcards for the CISSP and CCSP exam, but I'll drop a note somewhere in the series when my flashcards are available for you to have a look at. And I recommend curated flashcards over making your own, just because making your own flashcards takes time away from focusing on the material. So wherever you wind up, you want to find a fairly complete set of flashcards that has additional reading to back up the terms and explanations, the questions and answers, etc., so you can go deeper. In fact, my flashcards have additional reading, reference to the official study guide, video links, etc. So let's talk about those practice exams. We had a look at those together. These should really be small, recurring sessions that are a measure of your progress. So after you've watched some video content, you've maybe looked over a PowerPoint, use a practice exam as a checkpoint to see how well you're retaining the material. I would keep these checkpoints to less than an hour for best results. If you make every practice exam a full-length exam, you're going to wear yourself out. Personally, I think picking out enough questions to run through them in half an hour is the way to do it. And because you only have a minute to answer questions on the exam, it doesn't hurt to grab 30 questions and see if you can knock through them in half an hour. A minute a question. I want to answer one frequently asked question, and then I want to show you how we use these practice exams to drill down on our weak areas with surgical precision. So pretty often I get the question, which practice exams will best prepare me for the Security Plus exam? So which practice exams you use are much less important than how you use them. Tracking your progress on a per domain basis is absolutely key. Narrowing your focus to a subset of domains narrows the topics you need to focus on. Remember I mentioned the Pareto principle, the 80-20 rule. So no practice exam engine replicates the live exam all that well, so use practice exams to master exam topics. And because you need 83% give or take to pass this exam, you better be hitting these practice exams at about 90% scores consistently if you're going to be ready on exam day. So I want you to think about your exam study like this. So we have all the exam content and study materials, and we have a limited amount of exam prep time. And we need to get to what we have to focus on, our weak spots, the areas we don't know. So we use practice exams, flashcards, etc. to filter down to our weak areas. We watch videos, we review flashcards, we review PDFs, we take a practice quiz, and we see where we come up short on that quiz, and that's going to help us find what we need to focus on. And if you keep these practice exams short, then you should be able to take a couple of practice exams a week for sure. And remember, your official study guide exams are generally enough, and if you get 90% consistently, that's a pretty good sign that you're ready. And when you feel you're ready, then go take the full practice exams that you have in those two sets. Take a 90-question sit down and see how you do. If you're not totally happy with the official study guide, if you wanted to go a third party, you could look at Pocket Prep. That's the one I prefer because they have a good feature set and they have a good mobile experience so you can take your quizzes anywhere. They have a little quick 10 where you can drop into a 10-question quiz, timed quiz. They help you identify your weakest subject. They have a mock exam format, and they have a build your own option so you can go in and customize to a fair degree. But I don't recommend you start there. See how you're progressing using the official study guide materials. I think the right answer is to get to game day spending as little money as you actually need to spend. If you find you're not progressing, then maybe go look at a different tool to help. And that brings us to our final resource, targeted reading. So I use the official study guide when I'm studying for exams for two primary purposes. Number one, learning more about my weak topics. And number two, identifying the most likely exam topics. So the practice exam is going to show me my weak topics. I can take away the questions I missed and go read more on those topics. But what you'll also find in the official study guide, at the end of each chapter, they're going to give you a hint as to likely exam topics. In other words, what's most probably going to appear. But use it for targeted reading. Don't spend your time reading the official study guide cover to cover. It will add months to your prep time unnecessarily. And that's the game plan. So as I said, the series will be complete in Q2 2024, but I already have at least the first installment for you out there, and I'll be dropping new installments in this series until it's complete every 2 or 3 days. So if you haven't already, I suggest you order your copy of the official study guide, get the practice test, and get started on Domain 1.1, which is already posted here on Inside Cloud and Security. And congratulations, you've made it to the end of Part 1. You have a game plan. I hope you get value out of this series. If you have questions along the way, drop me a comment in the comments below the video here on YouTube. Reach out directly on LinkedIn. And I'll look forward to congratulating you when you cross the finish line. And until next time, take care and stay safe.